I would say that Pokemon is stagnant as a franchise, but the word stagnant would imply that it's staying the same and not actively decaying further and further with each new release. Game Freak as a developer is frankly unequipped to handle the jump to HD game development, and the Pokemon Company as a corporation is frankly unwilling to give them the time they need to adjust and actually finish a game for once before releasing it. Because at the end of the day, they know we're all just gonna buy it anyway. I've purchased and played every single Pokemon game on the Switch, and the only one I actually liked was Legends Arceus. I promise this video is about Palworld, bear with me. Being able to run around open levels, gathering resources, walking up to Pokemon that actually exist in the world and aren't just encounters hidden in tall grass, throwing Pokeballs and catching Pokemon in real time without even having to battle them. These might all sound like small details, but these small details add up to create a much more immersive experience. Legends Arceus went further than any other game in the series to make you actually feel like you were in the world of Pokemon, and was a massive breath of fresh air for the series. But at the end of the day, it was just that. A single breath. A taste of something far greater. I've pretty much already shown you everything this game had going for it, but it nevertheless served as a great foundation to build off of. A stepping stone for something far more grand. The blueprint for the basic moment-to-moment gameplay that a larger, more ambitious, full-fledged Pokemon RPG could be built off of. And then, just a few months after the release of Pokemon's Legends Arceus, the Pokemon Company would reveal this piece of trash instead. In Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, there is no more dodge roll. You cannot catch Pokemon in real time anymore. You gotta go into the slow-ass, turn-based battle instead, where every turn takes twice as long as it did in Legends Arceus for some reason. None of the characters have anything to say, and yet they never shut the fuck up.
We're feeling audacious, or maybe herbaceous. Shut the fuck up. I'm gonna break its legs. I'm gonna break my Mapashif's legs just for that.
And to top it all off, the games now look like this, and everyone's always doing shit like this. What the hell happened here, Game Freak? Even if the game actually looked good and time itself wasn't constantly melting, you've still managed to make a less interesting and immersive game than the one that came before. But that does beg the question, if I hate this stupid half-baked piece of shit game so much, then why did I buy it? Twice. Well, you see. It's because you gotta buy both versions if you want to catch all the Pokemon. For me, Pokemon has never been about the games. It's about the funny little dudes on the back of the box. Those silly little guys in the grass. The Pokemon themselves. And I think that Game Freak is fully aware that stupid idiots like me aren't paying for a good game, but instead just to look at the funny little animals that live inside my Nintendo. Because the Pokemon franchise is constantly trying to get you to care more about the Pokemon. Constantly beating you over the head with the idea that Pokemon are friends and partners to be loved and cherished. Blue canonically loses to you in the first game because he didn't love his Pokemon enough. The game has a literal friendship mechanic that tells you how much your Pokemon love you. Yet, when it comes to actual gameplay applications, the Pokemon often feel less like the friends and partners they're meant to be and more like simple weapons you would find in any other JRPG. Mere tools, meant to serve as a means to an end. The end, of course, being cockfighting. 99% of the game is just battle after battle after battle, and so you are encouraged to fill your party not with your favorite Pokemon or even the ones that you have the best bond with, but instead the ones with the best moves, with the best typing, and with the best stat point distributions, the strongest Pokemon you can find. When battling is the only use for Pokemon, only Pokemon good at battling will see use. To use a weaker Pokemon becomes an oddity, an unexpected spectacle, and as a result, all of the weaker Pokemon out there are doomed by the design of the games that they're in to never receive that much attention. And so what's extra ironic is that Palworld, see, I told you we'd get to it, Palworld, a game in which every aspect of its marketing encourages you to use the pals not as friends or partners, but instead as simple tools of profit, power, and also cockfighting, actually provides the player with far better ways to make its monsters feel more like friends and partners than Pokemon ever has. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, Donkey, there's no way that this game that lets you kill and consume your pals actually encourages you to bond with them more than Pokemon does. You must be high if you're thinking that. And that's true. But allow me to explain. Now, Game Freak's not stupid. They do put some things into the game that let you bond with your mons a bit. Even from the beginning of the series in Pokemon Yellow, your Pikachu would always walk alongside you, and you could even talk to it to see how it was feeling. It was a small detail, but it really went a long way to making the bond with Pikachu feel special. This wasn't just any Pikachu, it was your Pikachu, and everyone loved walking around with theirs. So naturally, Game Freak immediately remove this feature in the next game, and outside of Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver for some reason, simply walking with your Pokemon would not return regularly to the series until nearly 20 years later with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Now, Game Freak catches a lot of flack for not polishing their games, because they don't, But walking around with your Pokemon in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is actually really well done. Not only can you walk around with every single Pokemon in the game, but for the first time they all have unique walking and sprinting animations that give them a lot of personality. Just look at my little Ekans go. It's like I'm actually going on a little adventure with him. This is adorable. I love this. If you want people to bond with their Pokemon, this is a great start. Now, let's walk around with our Pokemon in Sword and Shield, the sequel that released just 1 year later. Game Freak. What the fuck? Despite having enough awareness of the feature's popularity to bring it back, Game Freak has ruined walking. How do you ruin walking? That's like the first thing babies learn how to do. The Pokemon simply don't keep up with you at all now. They might as well not even be there at this point. And this has been the case for every single game that has come out since Let's Go. How did this happen? What the fuck is wrong with Ekans? That's not how snakes work. Just reuse the animation, guys. Come on. I know you know how to do that. Now, let's look at how walking works with your pals in Palworld. You take them out of their ball, and they walk at the same speed as you so they don't fall behind. It's that easy. Just copy Palworld, Game Freak. Hell, copy yourselves. An indie company is outdoing you at a gimmick you already perfected. But while walking with your Pokemon can be a good little bonding exercise, it is by far the most superficial. We can find deeper ways to establish our monsters as partners through actual gameplay mechanics. Back to Legends Arceus. Here, you can't walk with your Pokemon at all. The first open world Pokemon game, and it feels like they broke my Umbreon's fucking legs. But what Legends does do better is integrating your Pokemon into gameplay tasks other than battling. Remember when I talked earlier about gathering resources? Yeah, need some rocks smashed? Bam, my boy coming in clutch with the tackle. Yeah, need some apricorns? Bam, my boy coming in clutch with the tackle. Need this other colored rock smashed? Bam, my boy coming in clutch with the... This is really all they do here, honestly. While simple, it does give Pokemon a nice utility to aid you in the overworld. Something actually makes me appreciate them. However, this is still not something that makes them feel like partners. Much like myself, they're still just tools. Let's look at how Palworld handles the same thing. In this game, gathering resources is vital, as the procurement of minerals is mandatory if we are to create a thriving industrial center. And as such, you're going to be doing a lot of resource gathering in this game. More importantly, you're going to be doing it yourself. But if you have a pal out with you, it will come up to you and aid you in whatever task you're doing. Look at my Tombat helping me mine this rock. He isn't just picking it up for me real quick like my Wurmple in Legends. Here we are working together to take this rock and break it into smaller, easier to carry rocks. But more importantly, he's not just doing the work for me, he's doing it with me, alongside me, as a very literal partner. And unlike in Legends, where any Pokemon can do any task, making them entirely interchangeable, Palworld does not make Tombat so easily replaceable. Only certain pals can do certain tasks. You may be able to argue that this is an inconvenience to the player. However, it does inarguably make my Felbat a special little guy who I will always carry with me, who I will always depend on, and who I will now always remember as a reliable friend. And once again, Palworld has even more in-depth ways to make our pals feel indispensable. Doing chores in the field with our party of pals is of course valuable, but what about the pals we don't carry with us? Think back once again to Legends Arceus. This is the only game in the mainline franchise where your primary goal isn't to fight the Elite Four, or your rival, or the champion, or your friend's hot mom or whatever. Instead, you are on a holy mission from God to catch all the Pokemon. But Daki, isn't that the point of every Pokemon game? Wrong. In those games, you're only catching one of each species. In Legends Arceus, they want you to catch every Pokemon. All of the Pokemon. Even if you already have one. Okay, not literally all of them, but they do, unironically, expect you to catch over 24 Wurmple, along with every other species in the game. I'm okay with catching 25 Wurmple, though. I love Wurmple. He's just a goofy little guy. A silly little Sally. A stupid fucking piece of shit who can't even beat the other Pokemon that spawn next to him. So what do we actually do with the 25 Wurmple we've got? It can't do shit with him. Even when Wurmple evolves, he is weak, fragile, near entirely useless in battle, and even when battling isn't the main point of the game, since all the Pokemon are fully interchangeable in doing tasks, battling remains the only role in which they can distinguish themselves. As a result, the weaker Pokemon like Wurmple still just don't serve any purpose in the game other than to pad out the Pokedex. So despite my love for the design of this funny little fellow, after I caught them, I was, by the mechanics of the game, more or less forced to lock them up in the ranch for eternity, never to be looked at or thought of again. But Imagine if our only experience with Wurmple wasn't his pathetic battle performance. What if there was something more for him? Imagine if while you were out there exploring, he was back at the town, a skillet in each tiny little hand, cooking up tasty treats on the grill for you to enjoy when you get back from your adventure. That would be great. Everyone would love Wurmple. And I know that because that is the exact reason that some of my favorite pals are the ones that I've never once had in my party. Just look at this guy. This is Depresso. He is weak and stupid. I would never have him on my team. And just look at that design. I would never buy a plushie of him like I would with Wurmple. But he is a real handyman when it comes to helping around the base. Whenever I start crafting something, he always runs up to the bench and helps to speed things up, which is super helpful. And he's always so happy to accomplish something. And it might sound stupid, but that makes me happy too. He's almost become something like our guild mascot in our multiplayer server. Everyone loves Depresso. And when he fell sick, you better believe we dropped everything to figure out how to make him feel better. And after plenty of hugs, positive affirmations, little kisses on his boo-boos, and 400 cc's of antibiotics, he was cured, and we rejoiced. In my 25 years of playing Pokemon, I have never once had to put that much effort into helping any of my Pokemon. I don't think I've ever even had to help them, period. 25 years of catching, training, and battling with my Pokemon, and my personal connection to any single one of them has been absolutely cleared by this stupid fucking cat thing who helped me build a gun to shoot a rabbit before snapping his tibia while walking over to his food bowl because he's dumb as fucking bricks. But I love him now, and that's all that matters. And that's just one pal. Your base in Palworld allows you to have up to 19 of them helping you with tasks at any given time. And you can build 3 bases. That's 57 pals who are actively helping the player, not just rotting away in storage somewhere. Now, Pokemon has tried to give your boxed Pokemon something to do before. There's Pokemon Jobs from Sword and Shield that lets you send your Pokemon out on missions for supplies. And there's the Pokepelago from Sun and Moon. But the problem with these is that they only allow your Pokemon to do things for you off-screen, and never alongside the player through the course of regular gameplay for things you actually need. So while in Palworld, my T-Fant is watering my crops I need to keep myself alive, and my Lizpunk is helping me make an AK-47. In Pokemon, I just send my Pokemon off into the void for 6 hours, and they come back with some stupid beans or some shit I don't care about. It is the base you build and the tasks you do with your pals that gives you an opportunity to bond with them, and to make you love them. And even though I think Pokemon's actual creature design blows Palworld's out of the water, and even though I think that Depresso is ugly as shit, I still have a better bond with this little dude than I ever had with any Pokemon. Even if you are a cold-hearted, cynical capitalist who only cares about making money, think of the merch potential. All those Pokemon you can't sell any merch of because they aren't cute or cool enough. We'll have a player spend 20 hours doing chores with them, and you might actually have someone give enough of a shit about a Maractus to buy a plush of them. I'd buy a Depresso plushie now. I can tell you that much. Giving the Pokemon and pals meaningful things to do alongside the player simply allows for a more inherently meaningful relationship with them. And whether it was by intentional design or a sheer unintended side effect of shoving monsters into a survival game, Palworld has entirely eclipsed Pokemon, making their monsters feel more important to me as the player. If there is anything that Pokemon can learn from Palworld, it's not the better graphics, or the better frame rate, or the better exploration, or the less glitches. They should honestly just know to do that already. It is the fact that if you want people to care more about these creatures, you need to give us something more impactful to do alongside them other than just battling. Something that all Pokemon, regardless of their stat points, can perform in. It doesn't have to be base building like Palworld, but as long as you find some way to more thoroughly integrate Pokemon into the actual moment-to-moment gameplay in the same way that Palworld does, I think it would make for a much more immersive and meaningful experience that would connect players to the game on a much deeper level. Alright, now YouTube said I have to tell you to like and subscribe now. Remember to hit that play button at the top of my video list and walk away from your computer for 12 hours. Alright, bye-bye.